Major support for Out to Lunch is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with over 375 attorneys and offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of services to a local, national, and international client base. JonesWalker.com. And by Luba Workers Comp, a regional insurance carrier dedicated to providing reliable workers' compensation coverage to employers and workers in 13 states across the Southeast. With personalized service, trusted expertise, and tailored solutions, Luba helps businesses protect what matters most. Discover more at lubawc.com. And by JP Morgan Chase, a partner in financial planning. Looking ahead to retirement, growing your business, or for commercial banking, JP Morgan Chase offers advice and solutions tailored to individual needs and client well-being. More information is at jpmorganchase.com.
From Collins on St. Charles Avenue in Uptown New Orleans, we're Out to Lunch with Peter Raschuti, Tulane University A.B. Freeman School of Business professor and director of the Birkenroad Reports. It's business, New Orleans style.
Hi, I'm Peter Raschuti. Welcome to Out to Lunch. If you've ever worked in corporate America, you may have had this experience. You're having a perfectly normal day when you get an email from HR with the subject line, team building. Now, you might be the most fabulous team player in the company, but do you really want to spend a weekend doing a ropes course with your colleagues? No, you don't. But wait up, read the email. This team building exercise is a whole other thing. It's a workshop led by life coach Jaclyn McCabe, and you get to choose whether you go to the workshop called Dream It, Create It, or Tame Your Inner Critic, or others that are a long way from a ropes course. Jaclyn's workshops are based in creativity and self-expression, and they're not just about making your work life better. They're also about making your whole life better. Jaclyn McCabe, welcome to Out to Lunch.
Hi, thanks, Peter. Glad to be here.
The nexus between business and creativity is also the wheelhouse of my other lunch guest today, Kerrie Ann Nauseda. Kerrie Ann is the founder and CEO and chief editorial officer at a company with the enigmatic name Coterie. Coterie isn't a publisher, and Kerrie Ann isn't an author. She's kind of a life coach for authors. Coterie works with publishers of books about business, mostly Forbes publishing, to shepherd an author and a book through the many stages of its creation, from an idea on a napkin to a book on the shelf. Kerrie Ann Nauseda, welcome to Out to Lunch.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Jaclyn, there are a lot of behavioral expectations in the workplace these days. We're all very sensitive about what we can and cannot say to each other in a professional environment. So I'm kind of surprised to discover that companies schedule team building exercises with you, which seem on the face of it to be more like therapy or even explorations of spiritual discovery. How are you bridging these two seemingly distinct and separate parts of people's lives, the person and the professional?
Well, I kind of believe how you are in one place, you are in all relationships, right? Like, however you are at home is kind of how you are in work. And so I do think it's a little bit of therapy that we need to do. I also think I'm really enjoying this trend that I'm starting to see in the last handful of years of companies kind of leaning more towards the wellness, leaning more towards just the person as a whole and not an employee.
And in a personal setting, somebody might go to a life coach because they have a more expansive or holistic or perhaps less therapeutic approach to dealing with life's issues. In a professional sense, though, when you're talking about a workshop that an employer is paying for, when would an employer decide this is something to invest in rather than more of a traditional consultant?
So this is really more about team building and kind of getting over some blocks or hurdles that you might be at a company, you know? So like I've had companies, for example, hire me like a small staff that was just having some like interpersonal staff issues going on. And we went in and we did one of my workshops together, and yeah, it was technically on paper about what the workshop was, but we're doing like other work in the process by making, part of what I do in my workshops is you make a collage, like you get really creative. And so you have to tap into, there's a lot of self-trust in that, and you have to tap into your own intuition and make that go forward, which brings up stuff. And then if you're doing it in a team setting, you also have to sort of like rely on your partner in a slightly different way. So I'm kind of coming in the back door on the therapy stuff. It's kind of sneaky. You don't exactly know what I'm doing.
That's the word I was looking for. Yeah. So in other words, it's not completely scripted. I mean, you're getting the vibes from the group.
Oh, it's not scripted at all. Well, depending on which workshop you do.
Reminds me of this show.
Well, yeah, I was going to prepare for this, and I said, well, it's no different than doing my workshops. I know everything. Let me just get up there and talk.
Kerrie Ann, it used to be the pinnacle of achievement for a writer or somebody who had something to say to get a book published. There were always a lot more people who wanted to be authors than publishing houses with available resources. Biographies of writers are filled with stories about repeated rejection before they finally found a publisher who believed in them. Then along came Amazon. Not only did they establish an almost cost-free pathway to self-publishing, but they also reinvented the bestseller list, creating categories that are so specific that you don't have to get too many family members to buy a book to get on one. Having said all that, though, I believe neither of these publishing models apply to you. Or maybe it would be more accurate to say they both do. You're shepherding authors through the publishing process for establishing publishing houses. But I believe the authors are also paying these publishers to publish their books. So how does this process work? I mean, how do the authors and the publishers find each other? Do authors go looking for publishers, or do publishers go looking for authors? And who brings you into the process, the author or the publisher?
So there's a handful of different business models now when it comes to publishing a book. You have your traditional model with the big five, your Simon & Schuster's, your Penguin Random House Audio, like all of those major publishing houses. But now there's and then there used to be called just vanity publishing, where you would basically pay a corporation to put your book together from concept to printing, design the whole thing, ship it off. But now we have hybrid publishers. So hybrid publishing is very much on the rise, and it's taking away that stigma that vanity publishing currently has. And what happens is we have individuals who come to one of the publishing companies that I work with. One of my primary clients right now is Advantage Media. Advantage Media houses Forbes books, South by Southwest books, Entrepreneur books, and Advantage books, and a couple of more partnerships that they're bringing on. And so what happens is an individual who wants to get a book, whether they've written the book already themselves or had help with that, or they want to start right from scratch. They're going to work with a strategist. They're going to come up with the book idea, come up with a full book plan and outline, very robust outline, and then either they pick that outline up and they use it as a roadmap and they write it themselves, or more likely than not, they're going to hire a ghost writer or a collaborative writer.
And for people that aren't in the business, a ghostwriter is, I guess it could be a lot of things. It could just be a real ghostwriter. It could be the author spitting out a lot of ideas and he or she puts it together, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct. So your ghostwriter is the individual who will spend time talking with you, gather your materials, interview you extensively, and then put the book together. A collaborative writer, which is really where is my sweet spot, is when that author already has the manuscript or they're working on it, and what I'm doing is helping them shape it. I'm helping them from the jump understand the strategy of it. Like, what are your business goals? What are you trying to accomplish by publishing the book? Because we also have to look at the book content in relation to those publishing goals. So it sounds like a little bit more esoteric than traditional publishing, and it kind of is, because you're the author, being you're having to do that legwork with another individual helping you. So I kind of don't know if I answered your question.
You did,
okay.
And I threw too many in that one,
That's
one
okay.
giant paragraph
I try to
there.
remember them all.
These people that are going on, Jaclyn, they're coming out to one of these retreats. In a way, you open up so many ideas, and the company's paying for it. Do people right after the workshop just decide to do something different with their lives? That'd be a weird check to write.
Well, so when I used to do my one-on-one practice, that used to happen a lot, but not so much. It depends on which workshop the company picks, right? But my most popular one is the Dream It, Create It, because that is probably the more fun one. It's like you're kind of making a vision board for the company. And so depending on the size of the company, if it's a small company like 5 or 6 people, we'll just do it all together. If it's a larger company, you'll break up into teams. And so it's really about moving the company forward. And so I don't really get that reaction that you're leaving, right?
Yeah.
But yes, that happens often in my one-on-one work.
You know, what we do at school is if you work for Tulane, you get to take courses free, and then they come to the business school, they do so well, and now we can't afford to keep them. So that's why I was so sensitive for that particular problem. And Kerrie Ann, I know Coterie is like a group of small group of like-minded have the same tastes and things like that. It's a great name.
Oh, thank you. Well, it actually started out as a name for a party that we would throw.
Oh, I thought you were going to say dog. That would have been great.
No, that would have been great, actually. But it started out as just a bunch of women getting together, and like-minded women, and, you know, and our tagline at the time was low expectations, high spirits. But because I loved the name of it, and because the idea of, you know, an editorial boutique that really is a group of like-minded individuals helping others, trying to get their message out into the world, whether they're entrepreneurs, CEOs, visionaries, you know, your grandmother, honestly, who's got a wonderful story to tell and wants to write a legacy project. I choose at this point in my career to work with certain individuals or to collaborate with certain individuals, and those are also the same people that we're recommending to the folks who come to us, looking for, you know, either editorial work, like developmental editing, copy editing, or they're looking for full-scale writing or book coaching or book doctoring.
Now, I took 3 years of French 1, and that's actually how I figured that out. I know you were kind of blown away by my skill set there.
It was so good. I took a pause.
It's also a fashion term. When I was in retail forever, there's a big show in New York every year, or 4 times a year, called Coterie, where the buyers go to, like, as a buyer, I would go to buy clothes there.
Cool.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
See, Jaclyn, you at one point did the workshops, but you also did one-on-one. What was that like? I mean, I think it would be so important, but I also would think it would be emotionally exhausting.
Well, yes. So, I kind of got into this because I was in plus size fashion for 15 years. I had 2 different clothing stores. We were actually laughing before the show. I used to underwrite for you guys when I was on NPR. I was naturally just kind of coaching in the dressing rooms. Like, that's what I was doing. Women were coming in, they were shopping. It was mainly around like body image issues at the time. And I was just finding myself naturally coaching in the fitting rooms. And so I decided that maybe I was messing people up. And so I decided to go get a certification in coaching to make sure I wasn't screwing people up while giving advice in the fitting
There's
rooms.
a group after you. I just want to tell you, wow.
And so that's how that kind of evolved. And after a certain point, I decided that I was a little burned out in retail. And so I went into the one-on-one work, and it was, you're right. It was really good. It was very, really, really deep work that we were doing, and I got some more certifications, more on the therapeutic level and that sort of thing. And one of my clients calls me her Thera coach. Like, I was doing a little bit deeper than your normal
like
life
Theraflu.
coach. Yeah,
Yeah,
yes. And I loved it for a really long time. I loved it. And you're right, I got a little bit burned out. And so as we kind of mentioned earlier in my one-on-one work, I got a lot of people to leave their jobs that they were unhappy with. And sometime in this year, that's kind of what it's been becoming true for me. And so I feel like I'm getting to step out in my own dreams and do the things that I've been coaching other people to do for years. And for me, that's making art full time that I really want to do. And I was looking at all of these resources that I have, all of the stuff I have. I've been teaching groups for so long. I have so much curriculum that I could teach on. And in a way for me to kind of step into this full-time artist thing, I was like, well, let me take some of this curriculum I have and get some people to hire to bring into their organizations. And what I landed on was my 2 most popular workshops that I've just sort of taught over the years as in my 101.
You're doing the part you like.
Yes.
Taking your own
absolutely.
advice.
Yes, taking
It would
my
be
own
so
advice.
sad if
and
you
I
didn't
still
really.
do love teaching, so it kind of puts me in a teaching role and frees up my time to go make art.
You're listening to Out to Lunch. I'm Peter Raschuti. I'm talking with life coach Jaclyn McCabe and book coach Kerrie Ann Nauseda. We'll continue our conversation when we come right back from this short break.
Out to Lunch is brought to you by Basics Underneath. Fine lingerie, personalized fitting, curated swimsuits, and workout wear. Uptown on Magazine Street and at basicsunderneath.com. And by Tracy Moore, broker, realtor, and partner at Rev Realtors, offering over 20 years of experience representing buyers, sellers, and investors. Learn more at tracy.revrealtors.com. Additional support comes from Chateau Sew, a fabric store on St. Charles Avenue. Chateau Sew offers quality fabrics, sewing notions, and classes. Details at chateausew.com.
You're listening to Out to Lunch. I'm Peter Raschuti. I'm talking with life coach Jaclyn McCabe and book coach Kerrie Ann Nauseda. Now, Kerrie Ann, what are people looking to achieve by publishing a book these days?
Well, if we're speaking specifically within the nonfiction
Right, because
world,
you're, I know you with Forbes. Are you? I should have asked that earlier. Are you still connected to Forbes?
so if Forbes Books is different from Forbes the organization.
Okay.
So we would have to use the term Forbes Books
Okay.
when, and they're rightly picky about that. So, yes, I am no longer. I used to. Run the editorial teams at Forbes Books, at Vantage Media, with all the different imprints that we were talking about. And I had gotten to the point where I had found myself, I had been managing people in different organizations for, 15 plus years. And the farther up the proverbial food chain, the far less creative work I was able to do. And I would be able to watch we had wonderful team members and super talented, and they're doing all this great work. And there was a part of me that was just excited for them, excited for our authors, and then also really, really jealous. And I also at the same time was starting to get a little burnt out on being a manager and managing people, managing processes, and realized that if there was ever a time to make a change, now is the change. And so I am still deeply connected with the organization and working with authors and working specifically on like book planning and outlining, and then sometimes I'm bringing authors to the organization, and then I'll be their writer or book coach or developmental editor, and sometimes I work outside of the organization. So it just depends on how somebody comes to me, or if the organization comes to me knowing my skill set, knowing my sweet spots, and knowing that I would be a good match for a particular author.
Very similar stories when you back up a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
You both of you kind of got rid of the parts you didn't like and focused on you particularly you wanted to be closer to authors. It is wow. Well, you took each other's advice. That might work.
As you were speaking, I was like, boy, yes, I needed you. Where were you? Where were you 2 years ago?
Jaclyn, how do you envision selling your art now that you're an artist? And do you want to just explain what kind of art? You've got it here. It's beautiful.
Yeah, so I do hand-cut collage, so that means no digital. I'm with scissors, and I don't even really use an X-Acto knife, but I'm just scissors and paper, and I source from all different kinds of things. And, I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years, and I'm coming in as an artist in middle-aged, which feels kind of backwards to me somehow. I don't know if that's true or not, or maybe it's just my inner critic.
We're working to get rid of that.
I know, right? But one thing that I'm noticing, I have been an entrepreneur for so long, I've been marketing for so long, and retail, and then coaching, and all of this sort of stuff, that I kind of don't, it comes naturally to me. And so I am just marketing my art in the way that I would market any sort of business. And, I have this retail background, so I have set up a wholesale account to sell prints and greeting cards and other merchandise I'm making out of my art. I self-produced a show, and I did it in such a way that I completely broke even, and all my artist friends were staring at me going, I've never self-produced a show that I didn't lose money. And I'm throwing all my stuff at it, so much so that it comes so naturally to me that when I had my show, I did a series of private appointments. I just networked. I reached out to everyone that I kind of sort of maybe knew or had some maybe sort of connection with, and got people from the CAC there, got galleries from all over town there, and I got a lot of artists there. And the conversation that I kept getting into with the artists when we were standing in my show talking one-on-one is they wanted to know what I was doing. Like, they were wanting to know how I was marketing it, because that was so and that was the moment when I realized I was like, oh, this just comes naturally to me. I don't even think about it. And it's like, they're staring at me, like other artists are staring at me like an alien. In fact, somebody has asked me to come speak to their class at Old Miss next semester because she teaches up there, and she's like, we don't get this training in college. Like, will you come be a guest speaker? I was like, sure. Because it's just, I think, as a business person, it just kind of, it's one of those naturally inherent things that I've picked up over the years.
That's good. That is a tough business to get places with financially. So that's wonderful. And Kerrie Ann, how many books are you working on at any one time? And the reason I mentioned is, as a business school prof, you're always talking about people, can you get bigger? Can you scale? But is it just you? And I can't even imagine working on, say, 4 books at a time.
Well, the publishing process is pretty long. So, you're not generally, unless you're working on an expedited timeline because an author wants to meet a particular event or has a specific deadline for their their publishing date. But it generally takes about a year from start to finish to get a book developed. Now, the writing portion, the writing and editing, can be between 6 and 9 months. So that means you can work on a good number of books simultaneously. But I also find myself, I'll have a couple of projects where I'm only working on the book strategy, the content, the outline, like where is this going, what is the target audience, who are we trying to hit, or I might be doing a developmental edit for another book, or I might be writing one. So as long as the level of effort isn't all just insane, then I can handle about 5 to 8 projects at a time. Yeah.
And what I've been always told is that the tough part is writing the book in the author's voice. Is that a special skill when you meet with somebody, trying to match that a little?
It is a skill to a certain extent. I found I used to be in corporate marketing, speaking of, and when you're in corporate marketing, you're already naming something. You're bringing life to a particular product, especially if it's a new product that is being developed, and you're essentially giving it a personality and then marketing it out to your target audience. So that mindset is already there naturally. And then when I apply it to authors, it is mimicry to a certain extent, it is acting to a certain extent, but it really is just really getting to know the individual you're working with, getting deeply familiar with any content that they've already produced, talking to them. Just in a normal conversation, if you go and have lunch with someone, you can pick up what inflections do they use? What are the words that keep coming up? What do they repeat a lot? Do they laugh a lot? And you just pretty much try to embody that when you're putting their words down on paper.
So how do you two relate to each other now that you're here today? I mean, do you think, seems like you have a big common denominator in change, but you both went about it a little differently. I mean, first of all, I got to ask Jaclyn, did you ever run it by anyone else? Like, I'm thinking of dropping that part and picking up collage and...
Well, I have a coach, right? So I feel like if you are a coach, you need to have a coach, right?
Life coaches have life coaches?
Yes, I need to be supported. It needs to be kind of bookended, right? So yes, but I have always kind of jumped into things without, I opened my first retail store without ever working one day in my life in retail. I laughed 15 years later. I said I might have made a different decision if I ever would have made a deal, worked in retail. But I just follow my intuition. I'm really, over the years, I've become really good at that. And I just needed a freer life, you know? And I didn't start making the art thinking I was going to be an artist. I started making the art because it was a way for me to emotionally process. And then living in New Orleans, I don't know about you, but I just tend to have a lot of artist friends. There's just a lot of artists in the city. And my artist friends started paying attention. And that, I was like, oh, like maybe this can be a thing. And doors started opening that way. And so because it was always an emotionally processed tool for me, it is the basis of my workshops. Like each of my workshops has an art component in it. And while I will argue left and right that collage is an art form, right, it is also probably one of the most accessible art forms that there is. Like, everybody knows how to cut and paste. We all did it in kindergarten, right? And so that's why I end up using the collage, not only because it's my art of choice, though I am taking some painting classes right now. It is the really, like, accessible thing for everybody to do, and it is a way to process and get all your feelings out.
All right, Kerrie Ann, I'm going to ask you this. It's going to be tough.
Gotcha.
Is there a book in Jaclyn's life story?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Everybody has a book. Everyone has a story to tell. It's the level of interest in it and the level to which the individual is willing to get vulnerable enough to tell that story. Because even if you're talking about a business idea, it's still someone's idea. And you would be shocked at how emotional writing a book with someone can be. Because you might feel like you're talking about their culture and what makes their culture so special, but there's a family story behind it maybe. Or, the reason why they have this culture is because this individual grew up destitute or something. So every time you bring up that culture then in that story, you're dealing with someone's emotions and how they got there. And then on top of it, writing is a long process. I promise you, every time we get to the middle of a book, I call it the messy middle. Someone's going to have a meltdown. Someone's going to be frustrated. Someone's over it. They're completely done. The book is terrible. I never want to do this again. Why are you bothering me? You keep asking me to write. Okay, well, it's because you hired me to write, to ask you to do that. So, coaching, again, there's a lot of coaching that goes into it. So as you had asked the question about the relational aspects between Jaclyn and myself, I would say it is the coaching element, and you have to be able to not only get into a person's mind, be able to write in their voice, but you also have to be able to continue to guide them to make sure your end goal was this this book, and let's make sure that we get you there. So speaking of, I have a lot of my clients call me an editorial therapist.
Well, and add to that intersection, before I got into visual arts, I was a writer. Like, I was writing, that's how I was processing things, is I was writing narrative essays. And I started doing that in my retail days. So for the last 10 years, I've had this essay-based email list going that was a little bit of educational marketing. I mean, it was definitely a marketing tool for sure. It was to keep me in contact with my customer base, but it was also I was writing personal essays about things happening, and so it's just kind of transitioned from the body image stuff into the coaching stuff and now into the art stuff. So there's multiple intersections going on between you and I.
Kerrie Ann and Jaclyn, there are any number of encouraging words written and spoken about success being a team sport. There's no I in team, a rising tide lifts all boats, and many more. And most successful people are quick to acknowledge the role of others who have helped them along the way. Having said that, achieving success in business takes struggle, hard work, perseverance, and determination. And when it all comes together and pays off, they're typically the successful people we get to meet on shows like this. It's less often that we get to meet the people who these folks mentioned, the team members who help make success happen for them. People like both of you. I'm glad we had an opportunity to shine the spotlight on you today. Thank you both for taking the time to join me today on Out to Lunch.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Peter. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having us.
My guests on Out to Lunch today have been Jaclyn McCabe, owner of Jaclyn McCabe Coaching, and Kerrie Ann Nauseda, founder and CEO of Good Coterie. We edited the show to fit into the time slot here on WWNO. You can hear our unedited conversation and find out more about Jaclyn's coaching and Kerrie Ann's books by listening to the Out to Lunch podcast. You can find and subscribe to the Out to Lunch podcast on your podcast app and on our website, itsneworleans.com. If you want to know what we all look like, you can find photos from this show on itsneworleans.com and on our Out to Lunch social media. These photos were taken by Jill LaFleur. You can find more of Jill's photos at lafleurphoto.com. Out to Lunch is a production of INO Broadcasting for itsneworleans.com and WWNO 89.9 FM. The producer of our show is Grant Morris. Our technical producer is Eric Merle. Our researcher is Amy Irvin. And today's show was engineered by Blake Longlinay. I'm Peter Raschuti. Thanks for joining me. I look forward to meeting you again next week around the lunch table for more business, New Orleans style, on Out to Lunch.
Out to Lunch was recorded live at Columns on St. Charles Avenue. Columns serves lunch and dinner 7 days a week, hosts weddings and private events, features evenings of live jazz and more. Reservations for dining and hotel rooms are at thecolumns.com. Columns is a member of New Orleans & Company. More information at neworleans.com. Major support for Out to Lunch is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker. Established in 1937 with over 375 attorneys and offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of services to a local, national, and international client base. JonesWalker.com. And by Luba Workers' Comp, a regional insurance carrier dedicated to providing reliable workers' compensation coverage to employers and workers in 13 states across the Southeast. With personalized service, trusted expertise, and tailored solutions, Luba helps businesses protect what matters most. Discover more at lubawc.com. And by JP Morgan Chase, a partner in financial planning. Looking ahead to retirement, growing your business, or for commercial banking, JP Morgan Chase offers advice and solutions tailored to individual needs and client well-being. More information is at jpmorganchase.com. Mitchell Foreman wrote and performs all the music on Out to Lunch. You can hear Mitchell's music anywhere great jazz is sold or streamed, and at mitchellforeman.com.